The jungle falls quiet. September 14, 1943. Central New Guinea. Just before dawn. The rain has stopped, but the jungle is still breathing. Moist air clings to skin and fabric, heavy enough to taste. Private First Class Daniel Massa of the U.S. Army 32nd Infantry Division crouches behind a buttress root the size of a truck, his M1 Garand angled low, safety off. Sweat runs from beneath his steel helmet, tracing the grime on his cheek. Somewhere close, a mosquito whines, then vanishes. And then something far worse happens. The jungle goes silent. No insects. No birds. No distant water dripping from leaves. The forest does not sleep. It never does. When it stops making noise, it means something has arrived. Massa tightens his grip. He has been in New Guinea for 3 weeks, long enough to know the rule every veteran whispers to replacements on their first patrol. Noise means life. Silence means death is watching. Around him, the patrol freezes. Sergeant Harold Kincaid raises a clenched fist without turning around. 20 men halt in place, some mid-step, boots hovering inches above mud. A bargunner slowly lowers himself to one knee, careful not to let metal touch stone. No one speaks. No one even swallows. The absence of sound presses harder than gunfire. Just minutes earlier, the jungle had been alive. Cicadas screaming from the canopy. Parrots shrieking. Leaves rustling as unseen animals moved through the undergrowth. Now it is as if the forest itself is holding its breath. Massa can hear his own pulse in his ears, loud and uneven. He knows the Japanese are experts at this. They do not announce themselves. They erase the jungle before they strike. Kincaid slowly turns his head, scanning the green wall ahead. His face is lean, hollowed by malaria and weeks of half rations. He mouths a single word, barely moving his lips. Listen. Massa strains. Nothing. That is the problem. The Japanese army has learned something here that textbooks never teach. In the jungle, firepower is not always king. Fear is. And fear is born in silence. A twig snaps to the left. Massa swings his rifle, finger tightening, but Kincaid slashes his hand downward. Hold. Firing blindly is how men disappear in New Guinea. One shot gives away position. Then the jungle explodes with grenades, knee mortars, bayonets appearing from nowhere. Another second passes. Then another. Somewhere ahead, a bird suddenly takes flight, wings beating hard. For an instant, Massa almost exhales in relief. Then he realizes what frightened it. The first shot does not come from the Americans. A single rifle cracks from the trees, close, precise. Corporal Lewis, point man, jerks backward as if yanked by a wire. He collapses without a sound, helmet rolling into the mud. No scream. No warning. Just absence. The jungle remains silent. Massa feels his stomach drop. The enemy has not opened up. No automatic fire. No shouted commands. This is deliberate. Japanese jungle doctrine emphasizes controlled fire, short bursts, single shots. Let the silence do the work. Let panic spread. Kincaid signals again, slower now. Spread out. Eyes forward. Do not rush. Massa moves inches at a time, careful to avoid vines that might snap. His training at Camp Carson never mentioned this part. No manuals explained how quiet could feel heavier than artillery. The men are surrounded by green, visibility measured in feet, not yards. Every shadow could be a rifle barrel. Every fan could hide a man who has not moved for hours. Another shot. Somewhere behind Massa, a man cries out, then clamps a hand over his mouth too late. The sound echoes unnaturally loud in the stillness. Then silence again. The Japanese know this moment is worse than killing. Each pause stretches nerves thinner. Muscles tense until they shake. Sweat stings eyes. Men begin to imagine movement where there is none. Massa remembers a warning from a Marine he met on the docks at Buna. When they go quiet, do not fill the silence. That is what they want. Ahead, the undergrowth parts slightly. Masa sees nothing but darkness between leaves. His breathing grows shallow. He feels the urge to fire, to break the spell, to make noise just to prove he is still alive. That urge is the enemy. Kincaid crawls forward, face inches from the ground. He knows this tactic. The Japanese have used it since Malaya, since the Philippines. Silence to fix the enemy in place. Silence to let fear do what bullets cannot. A faint metallic click comes from the right. Masa turns his head slowly. Too slowly. Something moves in the shadows. The jungle is still silent. The weapon you cannot see. The shape in the shadows does not rush. That is what makes it terrifying. Masa's eyes adjust just enough to register a human outline pressed flat against a fallen log. Japanese infantryman. Helmet wrapped in netting. Face darkened with mud and charcoal. The soldier does not move, does not fire. He waits, knowing the American will blink first. Masa feels the tremor start in his forearms. Every instinct screams to shoot, but he hesitates. If he fires and misses, the silence will shatter and the jungle will answer. Grenades. Knee mortars. A charge from 3 directions at once. The Japanese excel at letting the first shot doom the shooter. Behind Masa, a man exhales too sharply. The Japanese soldier fires. The shot cracks like a snapped branch. The round punches into the chest of Private Alvarez, who collapses backward into the mud, gasping once before going still. No follow-up fire. No yelling. The silence returns instantly, thicker now, soaked in blood. Kincaid does not shout. He cannot. Instead he raises 2 fingers, then clenches his fist. Hold position. Do not pursue. Masa's mouth is dry. He tastes copper. 2 men down and they still do not know how many enemies are out there. That is the genius of it. Silence multiplies numbers. One unseen rifle feels like a platoon. The Japanese soldier who fired has already moved. He slips away while all eyes lock onto where he was. The jungle closes behind him. Leaves settle. The forest resumes its breath only slightly, just enough to disguise his retreat. This is not an ambush in the traditional sense. It is erosion. A slow wearing down of nerve and cohesion. The Japanese army has refined this into doctrine. Use the terrain. Use the darkness. Use the jungle itself as a weapon. Above all, deny the enemy sound. Masa's patrol remains frozen for nearly a minute. Every second stretches. Sweat runs into his eyes but he does not wipe it away. He dares not move his hands. Then it happens. A faint whisper of movement. Not a sound, more a sense. Masa feels it rather than hears it. To his right, barely 3 yards away, leaves part without rustling. A bayonet tip emerges first, glinting dully. The Japanese soldier is so close Masa can smell him. Damp cloth. Oil. Rotting vegetation. The man moves slowly, deliberately, knees never fully straightening. His rifle is angled for a thrust, not a shot. Killing silently is preferred. Masa does not think. He lunges. The Garan's wooden stock slams into the soldier's jaw. The impact is bone on wood, wet and final. The Japanese infantryman collapses without a cry, body sinking into the undergrowth. Masa falls with him, grappling, terrified the man might shout. He does not. Masa scrambles back, heart pounding so hard he fears it can be heard. He looks at the body. Eyes open. Mouth slack. No sound ever escaped. Kincaid crawls over, nods once. No praise. No relief. The silence has not been broken. The danger remains. All around them, the jungle stays unnaturally quiet. This is no accident. Animals sense what humans cannot. Predators moving. Violence imminent. They flee or hide, leaving the forest hollow. The patrol begins to withdraw, inch by inch. Every movement is slow, synchronized, painfully deliberate. They are not retreating in panic. That would invite pursuit. They are slipping away, denying the Japanese the decisive moment. Another shot rings out, farther this time. A warning. Or a test. No one responds. Minutes pass. Then 10. Gradually, cautiously, the jungle begins to return to life. Insects resume their buzzing. A distant bird calls. The forest exhales. But Masa knows better now. The sound does not mean safety. It means the Japanese have chosen to let them go. For now. Later, back at the perimeter, Masa sits with his back against a tree, rifle across his knees. Medics work quietly on the wounded. 2 ponchos lie nearby, covering shapes that do not move. An older sergeant from another platoon crouches beside Masa. He chews on a piece of sugarcane, eyes scanning the tree line. First time you heard it go quiet, he asked softly. Mercer nods. The sergeant spits. That silence. That is how they get inside your head. Bullets kill bodies. Quiet kills judgment. As night falls, Mercer listens to the jungle sing again. Frogs. Insects. Wind in the canopy. It sounds alive. Normal. Almost comforting. He knows now that the most dangerous moment will be when it stops. Training fear into a weapon. October 3, 1943. Same jungle. Different patrol. The rain returns just after midnight, a steady curtain that marks movement and erases tracks within minutes. Masa lies in a shallow fighting hole scraped from red clay, poncho pulled tight, helmet tilted low. Around him, the perimeter breathes in shifts. Men doze in seconds-long fragments, waking at emergent sounds. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels intentional. Since the last patrol, rumors have spread through the battalion. Japanese soldiers crawling into American lines at night. Slitting throats without a sound. Standing motionless for hours until a sentry relaxes. Letting the jungle grow quiet on purpose, then watching fear do the rest. The officers try to counter it with orders and diagrams. Overlapping field of fire. Noise discipline. Listening post pushed forward. But no lecture can teach what silence does to the mind. Masa learns that lesson just before dawn. The rain stops suddenly. Too suddenly. The jungle does not fade from sound. It cuts off. Frogs cease mid-call. Insects vanish. Even the dripping from leaves ends, as if someone has turned a switch. Masa sits up slowly, every muscle tight. Around the perimeter, men stiffen. He can feel it without looking. Fear has become synchronized. A shape moves beyond the wire. Then another. Shadows sliding where there should be none. No shots. The Japanese have learned something brutal from months of jungle war. Americans trust noise. Engines. Radios. Boots. Commands. Take those away, and the enemy feels blind. Take away sound, and discipline begins to crack. A scream erupts to Masa's left. It is cut off almost instantly. Someone fires a burst from a Thompson. The muzzle flash punches holes in the dark. That is all the invitation the Japanese need. The jungle detonates. Grenades stomp into the perimeter. Knee mortars cough from unseen positions. Rifle fire slashes through the trees, controlled and deadly. The Japanese are no longer silent. They do not need to be. The silence has already done its work. Masa fires blindly toward muzzle flashes, the Garand bucking against his shoulder. Men shout now. Orders overlap. Someone trips the wire flares too late. White light floods the clearing, revealing bodies moving low and fast. And then, just as suddenly, it stops. No retreating cries. No parting shots. The enemy melts away, swallowed by the forest. The gunfire echoes for a second, then dies. Silence returns. Not the natural kind. The waiting kind. Masa's hands shake as he reloads. He forces himself to slow down. This is what the Japanese want. Exhaustion. Frayed nerves. A mistake. At first light, they find 3 bodies inside the wire. One sentry is missing entirely. No blood trail. No shell casings. Just empty space where a man stood watch. By midday, the battalion sergeant notes an increase in trench foot, malaria relapses, combat fatigue. Men jump at fallen leaves. Some fire at shadows. Others freeze completely when the jungle goes quiet. Command begins rotating units more frequently, but it does not solve the problem. Silence follows them everywhere. Japanese manuals emphasize patience. Hours of stillness. Let the enemy imagine you. Let his mind do the work. Masa sits with Kincaid that evening, cleaning his rifle. Neither man speaks for a long time. They are not afraid of bullets anymore. They are afraid of the moment before them. The moment when the jungle listens back. When the mind starts firing first. October 18, 1943. Foothills above the Macomb Valley. The patrol has been moving since before sunrise, climbing through thick undergrowth where the ground slopes just enough to steal breath. Masa feels every step in his calves. His uniform is stiff with dried sweat and mud. No one complains. Complaints make noise. Noise attracts attention. The jungle is loud today. Almost too loud. Cicadas scream from the canopy. Birds chatter endlessly. Leaves rustle in every direction. The sound should be comforting. Instead, it feels wrong. Masa has learned to distrust the jungle when it offers too much. Sergeant Kincaid senses it too. He slows the patrol with a raised hand. Men crouch automatically, spacing out, eye scanning. The noise continues uninterrupted. That is when Masa realizes what is missing. There is no wind. Leaves move, but not naturally. Something else is brushing them aside. Carefully. Patiently. Then the noise stops. It does not fade. It dies. The silence hits harder now than it did weeks ago. Masa's chest tightens instantly. His finger finds the trigger without conscious thought. Around him, men shift, boots scraping slightly before freezing again. No one wants to be the first to break it. This is where the Japanese have become truly dangerous. Not because of numbers or weapons, but because they have learned how Americans react. They know hesitation breeds imagination. Imagination breeds mistakes. A man on the far left fires. The shot rips through the stillness like a flare. Everyone flinches. Masa turns just in time to see a shadow collapse behind a tree. Maybe a Japanese soldier. Maybe nothing at all. The return fire is immediate and precise. 2 Americans go down in the first second. One screams until another explosion cuts him off. Men dive for cover, firing into green walls they cannot see through. Orders are shouted and lost. Someone yells ceasefire. Someone else keeps shooting. The jungle is no longer silent. But the damage has already been done. Masa crawls behind a fallen log, heart hammering. He forces himself to slow his breathing. This is what silence has done. It has trained them to fear the pause so deeply that they rush to end it. The Japanese exploit this ruthlessly. They fire briefly, then stop. Each lull resets the tension. Each lull invites another panicked shot. After 20 minutes, the firing dwindles. The enemy withdraws again, unseen. When the jungle resumes its sound, it feels almost mocking. They count casualties. 4 dead. 6 wounded. No confirmed enemy bodies recovered. That night, Masa cannot sleep. Every time the insects pause, his eyes snap open. His mind replays the silence again and again, louder than any firefight. Nearby, a replacement named Thomas Weaver whispers into the dark. You hear that? Masa does not answer. Weaver whispers again, louder now. You hear that quiet? Kincaid rolls over, voice low and sharp. Stop talking. The quiet does not mean they are here. but it might. And that is enough. Over the next weeks, the battalion changes. Men fire sooner. Some fire too late. A few stop firing at all. Combat fatigue spreads quietly, like the jungle rot eating at their boots. The medics call it nerves. The officers call it discipline problems. The men know the truth. The silence follows them. Massa watches a veteran named O'Brien freeze completely during a patrol. The jungle goes quiet and O'Brien simply stops, eyes wide, rifle hanging uselessly. It takes 2 men to pull him back. He sobs afterward, unable to explain why he could not move. No bullet touched him. Silence did. Command begins adapting. They add noisemakers to the perimeter. Empty cans. Trip wires with tin. Radios left playing softly at night. Anything to deny the enemy their quiet. It helps. A little. But deep in the jungle, far from the wire and the generators, silence still waits. On November 2nd, Massa leads point for the first time. His promotion feels hollow. He knows leadership now means being the first to hear the jungle stop breathing. The patrol moves slowly. Massa counts steps in his head. He listens not for sound, but for its absence. When the jungle goes quiet again, he does not freeze. He raises his fist. He waits. He lets the silence sit. Behind him, men shift nervously. He can feel their fear pressing forward, urging him to act. To shoot. To break it. He does not. After a long minute, the jungle resumes its noise. No shots are fired. No one dies. Massa exhales, realizing something important has changed. The silence is still dangerous. But it is no longer in control. Mastering the quiet. November 19, 1943. Rainforest east of Saddleback. The patrol halts without a word. Massa's raised fist is enough now. Men stop instantly, each one settling into position with practiced economy. Rifles angle outward. Breathing slows. No one looks to him for reassurance. They already know what this means. The jungle has gone quiet again. But this time, it feels different. Massa kneels, listening past the obvious. He does not focus on what he cannot hear. He focuses on what should still be there. A faint drip somewhere high in the canopy. The distant rush of water downhill. The soft hiss of his own breath. The silence is not complete. That matters. He signals Kincaid, 2 fingers tapping his palm. Not contact. Not yet. The sergeant nods, understanding immediately. The Japanese are close, but they are not fully set. They are waiting for a mistake that does not come. Minutes pass. Massa can feel the strain in his legs, the burn in his thighs. He ignores it. Stillness is now a skill, not a weakness. A leaf shifts ahead. Massa does not fire. Another movement, further right. He tracks it slowly, calmly, the way he was never taught in training. This is jungle knowledge, paid for in blood. The Japanese soldier reveals himself by accident. A knee presses too hard into wet ground. Mud squelches softly. That is enough. Massa fires once. Controlled. The recoil punches his shoulder. The target drops instantly, soundless. Before the jungle can react, Kincaid's men fire 2 shot bursts into preselected lanes. Not wide. Not panicked. Disciplined. The Japanese respond, but too late. Their silence has failed. The Americans do not chase. They do not shout. They pull back deliberately, denying the enemy a second chance. When the jungle finally resumes its sound, it feels earned. Back at the perimeter that night, Massa sits cleaning his rifle as rain taps softly on canvas. The jungle hums around them. Alive. Loud. Honest. He thinks about how fear once rushed him toward noise. Toward action for the sake of action. He understands now what the Japanese understood from the beginning. Silence is only a weapon if you give it power. In the weeks that follow, casualties drop. Not because the enemy is weaker, but because the men have learned to listen properly. They no longer fear the quiet. They measure it. They respect it. They wait it out. The jungle still goes silent sometimes. It always will. But now, when it does, Massa does not imagine death creeping closer. He imagines an enemy hoping he will panic. And he does not. Because in the jungles of the Pacific, gunfire kills bodies. Silence only kills those who let it.